The Burmese python can weigh close to 200 pounds and reach over 20 feet long. No Everglades mammal is a match for its unending hunger.
For 20 years, nothing in Florida could touch them. Not the alligators, not the hunters, not the cold. Burmese pythons ate their way through the Everglades and left behind a swamp with almost nothing living in it, and every scientist watching agreed on one thing. This animal has no enemies here. Then a tracking signal stopped moving in the middle of the night, and a team waded out into black water to find out why.
Quickly we figured out he's dead, and it turned into a bit of this is a crime scene to some degree. CSI, crime scene wildlife.
What they pulled out of the sawgrass was over 4 meters long, and its head was gone, bitten clean off, by something that walked away. No natural enemies. You need to understand what this animal was, because that is the only way the wound makes any sense. This is the creature that erased up to 99% of the mammals across entire regions of the Everglades. Not reduced, erased. Raccoons, rabbits, opossums, marsh rabbits, gone from stretches of swamp where they had lived for thousands of years. There are pythons that have been opened up in Florida labs with a whole armored alligator sitting inside them, barely digested, the snake having died because the meal was simply too much. And this thing is built like nothing else out there. That patterned skin, the exact skin collectors once paid a premium for, turns out to be almost flawless camouflage. Researchers will tell you, over and over, that they have stood less than 2 meters from a full-grown python and never once seen it. Along its jaws sit rows of heat-sensing pits, so sensitive it barely needs eyes. It does not hunt with light, it hunts with the warmth coming off your body. In total darkness, a rabbit has nowhere to go. Its appetite has no ceiling either. Birds, bobcats, deer. It unhinges its jaws around prey wider than its own head. A single female lays up to 100 eggs in one clutch. And geneticists working the Florida population found something they were not expecting at all. Traces of interbreeding with a related python species from India. A genetic mixing that may have made this invasion tougher and more adaptable than any model on the books. Overwhelming numbers, senses that make it invisible. And here is the part that mattered most. Back home in Southeast Asia, this snake shares the ground with tigers and leopards. Things that keep it honest, things that make it hide. In the Everglades, nothing had ever evolved to even recognize an ambush hunter this big, let alone fight one. Every animal in that swamp met it with instincts built for a world it did not belong in. So, who bit the head off the top predator of the Everglades? Hold that. Because none of this started in a swamp. A pet gone wrong. It started in living rooms. In the 1980s, when the exotic pet trade exploded across South Florida, the Burmese python became the most wanted animal in it. People paid serious money to import rare individuals with unusual striking patterns out of Southeast Asia. And the sellers told them exactly what they wanted to hear. This species eats very little. It stays manageable. It will never get much bigger than this. Every single one of those things was false. And some of the people saying them knew it. They grew and they did not stop. The animal that curled up in your palm was soon taking whole chickens, then rabbits, then anything with a pulse. Picture it. You are 26, you live in a rented apartment outside Miami, and there is now a 4-meter predator in your spare room that you cannot feed and cannot safely lift. So people did the easy thing. They drove out to the edge of the Everglades at night and let it go. Then, in 1992, Hurricane Andrew came ashore and tore the roadside breeding facilities apart, and a wave of mature, selectively bred pythons went into the wild all at once. From a few dozen escaped snakes, plus years of quiet late-night releases nobody ever admitted to, an empire formed. It is now estimated in the hundreds of thousands, stretching from Lake Okeechobee all the way down toward Key Largo. There is no border, there is no fence, there is just swamp, and it is theirs. And nobody planned a single part of it. Not one person in that whole chain intended to build the most successful invasion in modern American history. They just wanted a beautiful snake, and then they wanted it gone. That is the entire origin. No villain. Just a few thousand people making the small, convenient choice, one at a time, for 20 years, which left exactly one name in the whole ecosystem that could even be spoken in the same breath. And it did not belong to a mammal or a bird or anything humans brought here. It belonged to the animal that ruled these waters before a single human ever set foot in Florida. If a story like this is what you come here for, take 1 second and subscribe, because what happens when these two finally meet is the part nobody was prepared for. The ancient king. The American alligator was never just an animal. It is a dynasty, a design perfected across more than 10 million years. Its jaws close with a bite force over 2,000 pounds per square inch. A lion manages around 1,000. You manage less than 200. These jaws do not bite so much as crush bone like dry twigs. Its back is armored with bony plates woven straight into the skin. And when it wants something finished, it goes into the death roll, an explosive spin strong enough to take a limb off clean. For 10 million years, nothing questioned it. Not one thing in North America ever developed a strategy for it, because there was no strategy. There was only the water, and whatever the water decided to keep. But the python does not fight in that language at all. Its teeth are not built to crush. They curve backward, hooks engineered so prey can only ever travel inward. Once enough coils are around you, it starts to squeeze, and not with the steady pressure of the legend. Every time you exhale, it takes the space you gave up, tighter, then tighter, until blood stops moving and the heart stops with it, in under a minute. It is not the slow suffocation everyone pictures. It is a shutdown. Your own breathing is what closes the door. So, when the small prey ran out and these two finally started colliding in the shallows, biologists began recording things nobody had ever seen. Enormous pythons floating dead with their bellies torn open from the inside, because even swallowed whole, a gator's armor and claws could still finish the job. And the exact reverse, alligators lying motionless in the mud, their bodies ringed in the unmistakable spiral bruising of a constriction. And then, in 2005, they found the one that still gets brought up in every lecture hall in the state, a 4-meter python floating on the surface, split completely in two, and protruding from the rupture, the armored tail and hind legs of an alligator nearly its own size. It had swallowed the king. It had actually done it. And the sheer mass of that meal became the thing that killed the victor. The snake won the fight and lost everything in the same motion. Both of them dead in the same water, on the same afternoon, for nothing. Both of them lost. Sit with what that means for a second. This snake had grown into something capable of killing a 10-million-year-old apex predator and dying of arrogance instead of defeat. So, what is left? What could possibly still make it pay? The unlikely killer. Back to the black water. Back to the headless python. No gator tooth marks anywhere on it. No spiral bruising. No sign a person had been within a mile of the place. Weeks of analysis, cross-referenced against footage pulled from trail cameras nearby, and the answer finally lands. And it is not a bigger monster. It is a bobcat. A native North American lynx, under 15 kilograms. Barely bigger than the cat sleeping on your couch right now. Somewhere in Big Cypress, there is a trail camera strapped to a cypress trunk, firing off grainy infrared frames at whatever crosses in front of it, and on it, one night, is a bobcat walking straight up to an unguarded python nest, not creeping, not testing it, walking up to it, settling in, and starting to eat the eggs, frame after frame, like it has done this before. It is the first time anyone has ever recorded a Florida animal preying on the invader's own eggs. The ecologist who reviewed that footage first said it felt like a point for the home team. After years of watching nothing but native animals disappear down a throat, that is what the reversal felt like. A point. One. For people who have given entire careers to this swamp, this was almost unthinkable. In 2 decades of monitoring the invasion, no one had ever recorded a medium-sized native animal taking down a large adult python, not cornered, not defending itself. Attacking on purpose and winning. Everything they had documented for 20 years ran the other direction. Native animals vanishing, python bellies full, nothing pushing back. This was the first entry in a column that had never had anything in it. But it did not happen by luck. A few nights before that signal went dark, a record-breaking cold front swept South Florida and held the temperature down for several nights running. And here is the thing about a python. It is cold-blooded. Its strength, its reflexes, its entire defense runs on the temperature of the air around it. When the cold sinks in, the body slows, sometimes almost to paralysis, for hours. That is the moment everything flipped. The predator that is invisible and untouchable on a warm night becomes a slow, defenseless shape in the grass at exactly the wrong time, right as something hungry walks past. And it wasn't once. Months earlier, the same team pulled another tracked python out of the mud, killed during a similar cold snap, this time by a Florida black bear, which sounds like the swamp finally winning. It isn't. Not exactly. A brutal loop. Because those cold snaps, the one weapon nature seemed to reliably have, were quietly doing something else the whole time. They were selecting. Only the pythons that could handle the cold lived long enough to breed, and every generation since has been inching toward tolerating conditions that used to kill them faster than anyone predicted. Every time nature landed a punch, the punch was training a better opponent. And inside that loop, one more strange thing surfaced. Captured pythons stopped being simply removed and discarded. Their bodies get sampled now, because a top predator sitting above an entire food chain accumulates everything beneath it, which turns this snake into one of the most effective gauges we have for how poisoned the water really is. The animal that broke the Everglades is now the instrument measuring the break, which is either poetic or grim, depending on how your night is going. But the bobcat was never a lone hero, and the list of things willing to fight back was about to get longer than anyone had any right to expect. A growing resistance. The alligator, the old enemy, turned out to be far more complicated than the death matches suggest. Against small and medium pythons, gators are not rivals at all. They are simply predators, eating them. It is only past a certain size that the fight tips into the mutual destruction we saw. There is a threshold in there somewhere, a length at which the snake stops being lunch and starts being a rival, and no one has drawn that line precisely yet. The Florida black bear brings something else entirely. Where the bobcat works with speed and precision, the bear brings pure muscle and proactive ambush. It does not wait for the cold to do the work first. Tracked pythons have simply gone silent, signals vanishing mid-transmission, and the team drives out at 2 in the morning to find out why. Even the Florida panther, one of the rarest and most endangered big cats in America, has been documented taking down adult pythons. Read that again. The species we are pouring money into saving may be one of the most effective weapons we have against the thing that is eating the swamp. The biggest surprise came from above: vultures. The scavengers everyone writes off, recorded not waiting politely for something to die, but actively raiding unguarded python nests. For a slow-breeding bird with almost no enemies of its own, that is a brand new behavior, learned in real time, because the flood of pythons accidentally set a table nobody had ever eaten from. Now, look at the pattern in all of it. Almost every counterattack hits the python at its weakest, either still in the egg or frozen stiff by cold. Nothing in Florida has yet learned to take a healthy, full-grown python on a warm night. What is forming out there is not a single nemesis. It is a scattered network of pressure, arriving from different directions at different moments, which, as it happens, is exactly how a wrecked ecosystem starts to heal. Not one decisive victory. 1,000 small cuts from animals nobody thought had a move, landing in places nobody was watching, and the swamp has not been doing it alone. The human front. Since the mid-2000s, Florida has had a job that did not exist anywhere before: the professional python hunter. State-recognized, paid by the animal, working levees and canal banks deep into the night when the snakes move. The best of them will tell you straight that this is close to unwinnable, because the camouflage means you can stand 2 meters away and never know. You are not searching for a snake. You are searching for a slightly wrong shadow in the dark from a moving truck, and you get one glance. So, the science got sneakier. They surgically implant radio transmitters into male pythons and let them go. During breeding season, instinct marches those males straight to the biggest females in the swamp, and the humans just follow the signal into breeding hotspots they would never have found in 100 years. That exact technique is why anyone was tracking the python from the start of this story. Nobody set out to witness a bobcat rewriting the food chain. They were following a male snake looking for a mate. The public front is the Florida Python Challenge, drawing hundreds of hunters, with record removals in recent years and rules tightened to air guns and approved humane methods. No firearms, no dogs. But the strangest development did not come from a hunter at all. It came from a machine. Working with the University of Florida, water managers dropped dozens of robotic rabbits into key habitat, mechanical decoys engineered to broadcast the one thing a python physically cannot ignore, the heat signature of a warm body glowing in total darkness. For the first time, we are using the invader's own weapon against it. The heat pits that made it unbeatable in the dark are now the thing walking it toward us. And still. More than 23,000 pythons removed since 2000, which sounds enormous until you set it beside hundreds of thousands of them, spread across wilderness no human will ever walk. Officials say it plainly. A short public hunting event will not wipe out this species. They are not pretending otherwise because eradication was never actually the goal. The goal is to slow it down, protect what is left, and buy time. Time for the swamp to keep hunting for its own answer. Because that is what the bobcat actually was, not a rescue. A signal that the search is still running. A changed world. That headless python was never the end of anything. It was the first line of a story still being written, week by week, out in water most people will never see. And the root of it does not change. All of this traces back to a chain of human decisions, a collector's hobby, a sales pitch that was a lie, a hurricane nobody could have stopped, and 1,000 nights when somebody chose to open a car door at the edge of the Everglades instead of facing what they had made and drove home and slept fine. What has changed is the ending we assumed. This is not the story of an unstoppable invader silently taking every inch of unprepared land anymore. It is a far messier fight, where both sides are being forced to adapt and both sides are paying for it. A bobcat learns to read a weakness. A python population learns to survive the cold that was supposed to be its only predator. And we are standing in the middle, the cause of it, and somehow, part of the answer to it. Nobody knows where this settles. The python may hold the Everglades permanently, or the swamp may take decades and slowly, brutally put its own order back together, far less powerless than we assumed it was. So, the last question is yours. Is this still a war humans have any real chance of winning? Or is this just a permanently changed world that all of us, nature included, have to learn to live inside? Tell me honestly in the comments, because this one is worth arguing about. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If this got you, hit like and subscribe to World Enigma. It genuinely keeps these stories coming. See you in the next one.